And welcome into the first ever installment of the Roll the Tape Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jacksen White, alongside my two other co-hosts,
Aidan McNally,
Jalen McKissick.
And basically this podcast is going to be called Roll the Tape, as it kind of sounds pretty. And you can tell what it's going to be about by the name.
hopefully.
It's a sports podcast. Mostly we're going to be talking about football during football season. NBA season's right around the corner. We're going to be talking about that too. Mostly this podcast is going to be for pro sports. We might dabble in college, we'll see, but mostly NFL, NBA, and maybe as much as we grow, maybe we'll talk about other things as well. But now, I think it's time to roll the tape. Let's get into it. First segment of the day, best performances of the week, week 3 of the NFL season. And Keenan Allen, 18 receptions, 215 yards, and a passing touchdown.
Passing touchdown. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Keenan Allen, I would say, probably had the best performance fantasy-wise and really league-wise. 215 yards for the old-timer.
I mean, I know he's the reason why my team lost in fantasy this week. 45 points. I would have won if he didn't drop those.
Hey, and luckily, I started him in fantasy this week. He's been dropping me some good points. Another 45 points this week. Wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Another big game for him. Obviously, this Vikings defense is a little bit older, as we can tell. Lost Patrick Peterson this year, but he was old. Anthony Barr was out. I mean, this Vikings defense is the main point of why they're 0-3. The Vikings offense, on the other hand, looked good. Alexander Mattison, if he cuts down the turnovers, this Vikings offense will elevate. Justin Jefferson will be Justin Jefferson. But I think Keenan Allen beat the Vikings defense himself.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers, they look strong, winning 28-24. We'll go through the recap of all the games here in a second, but going now to the second best performance of the week, it has to go to Matt Gay, Colts kicker. He had 4 field goals over 50 yards, an NFL record. Hit a game-winning kick. Colts win 22-19 in overtime versus the Ravens. Matt Gay just today winning AFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
Well
Good for him.
And, now we move down to the Miami running back duo of Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. Achane having 18 carries, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, also 2 receiving touchdowns, and then Mostert having 13 carries, 82 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown as well. Miami had 70 points. They were rolling versus the Broncos. Let's ride. How about them Miami Dolphins?
The Miami Dolphins are on a roll right now. I don't know if there's a hotter offense in the league. I don't know if there's a strong defense that can stop them in the league. I mean, Mike McDaniels has them boys rolling, and Tua seems like he is way better than what people thought he was going to be coming into the season with the concussions.
I mean, if we remember, though, last year, before his concussion protocol, his whole issue, I mean, he was in an argument for a top 10 quarterback before he got injured. The Dolphins were rolling in the beginning of the season last year. And did you guys see the stat that Tua has started the first 3 games, but is it the first 3 games? First 2, exactly how we started the first 3 games last year.
Very impressive.
So this is very telling and very promising. And the fact that the Dolphins did this without their wide receiver 2 and Jalen Waddle, another speedy receiver to add, is very impressive. Obviously, Mostert and Achane are the headliners in this game. 8 combined touchdowns together. I mean, it only goes up from here for the Dolphins' backfield.
Yeah, the Dolphins had a combined 10 touchdowns last week versus the Broncos. That is something you do not see in this modern era. Another top performance of the week, Davante Adams, Raiders receiver, 13 receptions, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is not the reason the Raiders are losing. I mean, all week you see him posted in different jerseys, all teams looking to trade for him. The Raiders are not a winning team this season. They're not going to win games. Davante Adams is not going to be a Raider by the trade deadline. I would say that is almost a guarantee.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he'll be gone.
Still
Really?
Dominant performance.
Okay.
And then finally, to end out the best performance of the week, C.J. Stroud, 20 for 30 passing, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. C.J. Stroud has yet to throw an interception this season. The Texans get their first victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars this week as well. C.J. Stroud, no turnovers. Is he the best rookie quarterback so far?
There's definitely an argument. I mean, he's definitely looking better than Bryce Young. I think it's just between him and Anthony Richardson at this point. If Anthony Richardson can come out of concussion protocol and ball, I mean, there's definitely going to be an argument about who's the best rookie quarterback.
I mean, C.J. Stroud has had those first couple games for him were a little shaky, but he comes out, upsets the Jaguars in Jacksonville, with an impressive stat line. As of week 4 of the NFL, I think he is the best QB to come out of this draft class, just considering that Bryce Young was hurt this week. And, the first 2 weeks he didn't look great either. And Anthony Richardson was hurt as well. Anthony Richardson's looking good. He hasn't looked anything insane. But C.J. Stroud got his first big game of his career, and I think it's only up from here for the Texans offense.
Yeah, the Texans obviously started the season 0-2, now 1-3. We'll talk about it in a minute. Going to the flops of the week, and I think our biggest flop of the week has to be the Dallas Cowboys. Everyone said
Cowboys.
Super Bowl champions, they're going to do it. They're going to climb the mountain.
No,
and then they
not.
go loose to Josh Dobbs. Shout out Josh
Dobbs,
by the way, number 9 for the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals slapped the Cowboys, and Cowboy Nation, we fall. They're a flop of the week.
2-1 on the year. I mean, this is a team that, I'm going to be honest, I don't really like them too much, but I was pretty high on them this year. You get a new Dak Prescott, elevate the offense with Brandon Cooks, good defense, but then you go and Trayvon Diggs tears his ACL in practice. They lose by 12 to Arizona, arguably the worst team in the league. You just don't know what the future will hold for this Cowboys team, and it's going to hurt them later on with Trayvon Diggs being out, because that's a whole element to their defense that's just been ripped apart of them.
Yeah, second flop of the week, Kyren Williams for the Los Angeles Rams. He had 10 rushing attempts, 38 yards, and a loss versus the Bengals. And, Williams was a guy who no one expected to do anything this season coming into the year. Obviously, Cam Akers gets traded to the Minnesota. Williams kind of exploded week 1 and 2. For fantasy-wise, everyone picked him up. They all started him. He kind of, I believe he had 8 points in fantasy.
Yep, I had him on my team.
He struggled a little bit versus a really good front 7 for the Bengals. So Williams is a flop of the week. I would still think next week he's going to play another explosive D-line in the Colts.
Yeah.
I would say he's another player to have probably an expected flop as well. Going to the third flop of the week, Justin Fields. He's probably flopped every week this year.
It's not looking good for the Bears.
It's not looking good for him.
Yeah, and I feel like the reason we have him on this flop list is because there were talks in between, like leading up to this Kansas City Chiefs game, that the Bears were going to let him kind of do his own thing, play at his own pace, play his own style, and nothing really happened. He didn't really get anything going. Here's some stats. 11 for 22, 50% completion percentage. Didn't even scratch 100 yards passing, had 99. Threw a touchdown, kind of a garbage time touchdown to DJ Moore. It was a good throw, but, you're playing the second-string Chiefs defense. And he also had that tipped interception. Overall, just terrible week for the Bears and terrible season for the Bears to start off. And I don't know when they're going to pick it up, because you have the Broncos next week, and if there's a team to ball out, it's going to be that one. So next week will definitely be the teller for Justin Fields, his future with the Bears and the Bears in general.
Yeah, next flop of the week, Derrick Henry, 11 rushes, 20 yards, 2 fantasy points. Went against a really, the Browns' defensive line, obviously Myles Garrett having, I would say, probably the best. I would say he's the front runner as it stands right now for Defensive Player of the Year.
Definitely.
I agree.
And the Titans' offense really has been lackluster, to say the least, all season. Derrick Henry struggled. Age is starting to show with Henry. I would say he is a flop of the week.
Yeah. And I started Derrick Henry with confidence in my fantasy team this year. I traded for him second week on my starting lineup, and those 2 points is definitely not what I wanted to see. But to be fair, this Browns defense is a very proven defense this year so far. Obviously, you mentioned Myles Garrett, potential future Defensive Player of the Year. And then their whole secondary is good. Their whole front 7 in general is just good, with young pieces like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. This Browns defense is just going to continue to roll, I believe.
I think it just shows the age with that Titans offense. Ryan Tannehill, old. DeAndre Hopkins is getting up there. I don't know exactly if DeAndre Hopkins is falling off or if it's more Ryan Tannehill, but this offense does not look explosive at all. They definitely, as it stands now, look like the worst team in the AFC South, where they were supposed to be contenders for the top seed in the AFC South, so it's definitely not looking good for the Titans or Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And finally, the final flop of the week, the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that was supposed to be the next team to make a run at the Super Bowl. They're supposed to be the favorite to win the AFC South, and they put up 17 points against the Texans. A Texans team that, even though C.J. Stroud played well, this Texans team is not good. This Texans team, I would say, ceiling is 5 wins. And they got stomped by the Texans.
At
the Jacksonville Jaguars did
At home.
And that, to me, shows everything you need to know about the Jags. They're not
Jags
real.
could be inconsistent this year. I don't know if they are the.
They got hot last year.
They
went
did
on
get
a
hot
run.
last year.
But before that, they were not that good. And I think that's the same team that we saw this week, and I think that's going to be the same team we see throughout the season.
Definitely an inconsistent offense, inconsistent team in general.
AFC
under Doug
South
Peterson.
is wide open.
Wide open.
And you look at the offense, too. I mean, they have very good young pieces. And Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk is still a little young. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence. But then traded for veterans in Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley hasn't really gotten anything going since his
week one.
His week one against the Colts in Indianapolis. So I don't know. The Jacksonville Jaguars could have a very inconsistent team this year. Started off hot in Indianapolis, like I said, and then really has shown us nothing since.
So now let's go look back at every single game that happened in the NFL last week. Week 3, let's go to Thursday Night Football. The New York Giants taking on the San Francisco 49ers.
Wasn't even close.
The Niners blowout victory, 30-12.
Yeah.
The Niners now stand at 3-0. The Giants go to 1-2. Obviously for the Niners, Brock Purdy, 25 for 37 passing, 310 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. They had a really good balanced running attack as well. McCaffrey had 85 yards. Mitchell had 42. All around good game. Deebo Samuel finally came through, really having his first outburst of the season, you could say, 129 yards, a touchdown. George Kittle had 90 yards too. Just an overall dominant performance by the Niners. The Giants were without Saquon Barkley in this game. It was shown as they really had, I believe, 30 rushing yards.
Terrible.
It was bad. Daniel Jones didn't play that well either. The Giants fall to 1-2. Their playoff hopes are looking not that likely. They don't look like the same team from last year.
Not even
the Niners,
close.
I would say, are probably the favorite to win it all right now as it stands.
I agree. And, this Giants team, this is a Giants team that was supposed to take a big jump. Daniel Jones gets paid. You add Darren Waller to this offense. Obviously, you have Saquon. Their wide receiver room, they still have to figure out, though. Jalen Hyatt has looked all right. He's supposed to take lead as this wide receiver one in this offense, and he just kind of hasn't really lived up to his draft pick yet. He's made a few good plays, but not anything crazy. But this Giants defense is what we really need to talk about. 30 points, allowing 30 points is a lot in the NFL, and any team that allows 30 points in a game is gonna lose, in my opinion. So this Giants team is not looking good, and I know it's only week 4, but time is running out for them to turn things around.
Especially in that stacked NFC East conference.
Eagles, Cowboys,
Commanders
Commanders are looking all right.
Except for Sam Howell. But
Yeah.
We'll get to that when we get to that.
That's
But
a funny one.
if the Giants don't turn it around in the next coming weeks, they might have to become sellers.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
and we'll definitely be
Especially with
talking about
Saquon being injured as well.
that. Yeah, moving along to Sunday, week 3. Going to the Sunday games, Detroit Lions versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Lions really dominated the game. The Falcons only scoring 6 points. Riddler did kind of struggled, 28 for 38. 200 yards. Bijan, however you say his first name. Bijan Robinson had probably his first stinker of a game of the season.
Definitely.
He played well in week 1 and 2. Only had 33 yards in this game. And the Falcons, a team that is primarily a running team. They're very focused on the run. They struggled to do that in this game, and it's shown they only had 6 points. The Lions, they played all right. Jared Goff, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 243 passing. Jahmyr Gibbs finally had his first game, you could say, as the top back in the backfield for the Lions. He had 80 yards as well. So the Lions get a win. They're now 2-1. The Falcons get their first loss of the season. They are now 2-1 as well. Moving along to another 1 o'clock game. We mentioned it earlier, Chargers versus Vikings. Probably the most exciting week 1 o'clock, I should say, game, probably besides Colts-Ravens. 28-24 the final score. The Chargers picking up their first win of the season. The Vikings fall to 0-3. Chargers 1-2. Justin Herbert, 400 passing yards. He played phenomenal. 40 for 47. That's an extremely good completion percentage. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Keenan Allen threw a touchdown as well in this game, as we mentioned, as he was one of the players we talked about in the first segment, best performances. So Allen played well. For really, if you look at the rushing attack for the Chargers, it wasn't there.
Not good.
Joshua Kelly, 12 yards and 11 carries.
1.09 yards per carry.
That is wild. But Keenan Allen, 215 yards receiving. Mike Williams had 7 receptions, 221 yards, a touchdown. He's done for the year, by the way.
He is done for the year.
Mike Williams did tear his ACL.
Very unfortunate.
This will be a great opportunity for Quentin Johnston to come in and replace Mike Williams. I mean, he's kind of like a similar build coming out of the draft. That's why they picked him. Another one of those big, tall receivers that can go up and get the ball. So I think this will be a good opportunity for him.
Also, Joshua Palmer, another guy a lot of people are saying pick up in your fantasy leagues. He should probably be the third option for this team as well.
Definitely should.
And on the Vikings side, Alexander Madison starting to prove himself a little bit. 4.5 yards per carry-ish. Justin Jefferson is obviously going to be Justin Jefferson. 7 receptions for 149 yards and a touchdown, finding the end zone in a crucial time before that Joshua Palmer touchdown to seal it. Kirk Cousins looked all right. 32 for 50, 367 yards, 3 touchdowns, but also had that interception. TJ Hawkinson's going to keep rolling with those 8 receptions and 78 yards. And Vikings fall to 0-3.
The thing with the Vikings is it's not really necessarily the offense's fault.
It's the defense.
It is the defense.
The defense is horrible. I mean horrible, this defense is bad. Like, they are not good at all.
and if you look, Justin Herbert threw almost 50 passes in a game, and he completed 40 of those. I can't remember the last time I've seen a defense allow 40 completions thrown by a quarterback. You're allowing Keenan Allen to get over 215 or to get over 200 yards in a game. Mike Williams put up over 100 yards. I mean, there's not very many occasions where you see 2 receivers go over 100 yards. And Keenan Allen actually surpassed 200, so with 20 targets, which I don't know. I think Keenan Allen's probably second best receiver in football right now.
Second best?
That's
behind Tyreek Hill.
Behind Tyreek Hill.
So you're saying you rather have Keenan Allen than Justin Jefferson?
Actually, no. Okay, I'll put him 3. I'll put him 3. I'll put him 3. Okay, but 20 targets, he's getting open. His route running is simply one of the best in the game.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I mean, he came back last year. Obviously, he had a down year, injuries. And he's obviously been one of the top 10, top 5 receivers for a long time. And he's shown that he's still, even at his age, is still a dominant force in this league.
Absolutely.
And he showed that. Moving along, another 1 o'clock game. Green Bay Packers taking on the New Orleans Saints. This game was interesting. The Saints came out to a 17-0 lead. Derek Carr goes down. Jameis Winston comes in. No score in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, Packers go on an 18-0 run, win the game 18-17. Jordan Love, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 259 passing. No running attack necessarily for the Packers. 11 carries for A.J. Dillon, 33 yards. Their leading rusher was Jordan Love with 39 yards rushing as well. Packers 2-1, Saints 2-1. Definitely an interesting game. But the Saints blowing a second half.
I think this will be the game that will be remembered as the coming out game for Jordan Love, for Packers fans. Especially at home, down 0-17. I know Derek Carr got hurt. But to come back, show the poise that he did in that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
To come back down from 17 down, this will definitely be remembered as one of those games that proved to Packers fans who have had great quarterbacks the past 20 years that they still have a good quarterback at the helm and that can win them games.
And I do want to ask this question to both of you guys because it's a very important question. It was a game-changing factor. If Derek Carr doesn't go out with a shoulder injury, do you think the Saints win this game?
I think the Saints still win the game.
I think Jameis Winston's still a top 32 quarterback in the league.
What?
He's 32nd. But
wow.
I would take Jameis Winston over Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
but
I'll give you that. I'll give
with
you that.
how that offense moved, they didn't score. They didn't score whenever Jameis.
Come on.
They didn't
Zach
even
Wilson
get in field goal
terrible.
range whenever Jameis Winston was.
Womp womp. Zach Wilson's terrible.
He
Zach
is,
Wilson
but
would've taken
Jameis Winston is worse.
I'm taking Jameis Winston right now over Zach Wilson as well.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know about that.
I'm taking
I don't
Gardner
know about
Minshew
that.
over Zach Wilson.
I'm taking Gardner Minshew over.
But yeah, I mean, I think if Derek Carr's in that, I think he's a dynamic player enough to reel them through, at least to get a field goal. The Packers looked. I mean, you said it was Jordan Love's coming out game, but was it? I mean, besides the fourth quarter, he struggled.
He
did struggle, but just the way that he composed himself in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the poise in the fourth quarter, he looked good.
That's the kind of thing that you want to see out of a quarterback, to be able to come back down.
Yeah,
in those type of leads.
But what about the first 3 quarters?
I mean, yeah, it's true.
Well, I mean, everyone struggles.
But
everyone has bad games.
he's still this is still his first
and the
starting
Packers
opportunity.
always struggle versus the Saints in the regular season. They've done that the past few years. It doesn't matter who was the quarterback taking the snaps. Rodgers, Love, it doesn't matter. The Saints had the Packers number, and they didn't. They got a loss. Moving along now, Texans versus Jacksonville Jaguars. We talked about it earlier.
Fun one.
Yeah, 37-17 Texans win. They get their first win of the season. Jags fall to 1-2 as well. Both teams 1-2 in the AFC South. C.J. Stroud, obviously 282 touchdowns. Really not too much of a rushing attack for the Texans. Dameon Pierce had 31 yards on 14 carries. Devin Singletary had 41 yards on 9 carries. Tank Dell, rookie wide receiver, a guy who a lot of people didn't talk about, but has had a phenomenal season so far after 3 games. He's a guy I would look at on the waiver wire to pick up. Every single game he's getting better. He's the number 1 option for C.J. Stroud in this offense, it looks like.
Well, I don't know. Nico Collins is still there.
Yeah.
I think Nico Collins still might be the number 1.
I would say Tank Dell is the first option in this team. I would. I think after you looking at the statistics.
It's definitely a possibility.
It's definitely there.
I mean,
going forward, I can definitely see Tank Dell being that number 1.
Yeah.
But I think Nico Collins still has the edge about being better right now than Tank Dell. So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see who C.J. Stroud grows with and who he tends to target more. But C.J. Stroud is what I was going to talk about next. If we're talking about a young quarterback that is having their coming out game, I think this is it for C.J. Stroud. We saw what the Texans offense did against the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road, a Jaguars team that is highly anticipated. I mean, C.J. Stroud, 66% completion percentage, not amazing. It's top half of the league. Almost 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. A great game for C.J. Stroud. And if Stroud didn't play the way he did, definitely would have been a closer game for the Texans. And who knows, they might not have been able to pull out the W.
Oh, 100%, I agree. And, you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, talking about them, a team that everyone thought would be the team in the AFC South, and one of the teams in the AFC. Obviously, last season they went on that run. They beat the Chargers in the playoffs. They go on to lose to the Chiefs in the second round, whatever. This team looked like they were poised to be a top team in the NFL for the next 10 to 15 years with Trevor Lawrence at the helm. And they're 1-2, and they just lost to the Houston Texans, a team that's ceiling is 5 wins. The Jacksonville Jaguars are fake. I just don't care. They got hot last season, and yeah, I could be a little biased because I don't like the Jacksonville Jaguars. But this team has a lot of talent. They should be winning games, and they should have beat this Houston team.
The team has too much talent to lose.
They're better A to Z, and they should have won, and they just didn't. Travis Etienne, you look at the stats even offensively. 19 carries, 88 yards. That's not terrible. Trevor Lawrence, 27 for 40, 279, touchdown, interception. You'd like to see a little bit better play, but that's not that bad. Evan Ingram had 67 yards. Christian Kirk had a touchdown. Travis Etienne had 50 yards in the air as well. Calvin Ridley, 40 yards. I mean, they didn't play bad.
No.
Alua Khan on defense had 14 tackles. I mean, they didn't play terrible, but allowing the Texans to 37 points with
especially
a rookie
with that
quarterback.
Type of defense. That front 7.
It's
a rookie quarterback that has struggled so far, that we haven't seen any signs of him improving, and then walks into Jacksonville, just destroys your whole defense.
I think C.J. Stroud has improved every game.
I do too.
I think when it's all said and done, probably this year, even though I really like Anthony Richardson. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I really think C.J. Stroud, at least this season, will be the best rookie quarterback. I think the worst will be the guy down in Carolina. We'll mention him in a little bit. But, But moving along now to probably the most exciting offensive game of probably the season. Denver Broncos taking on the Miami Dolphins down there in Miami.
Man, I feel bad for Shannon Sharp.
Yeah. Oh my. Let's put it down. Tua Tagovailoa right now, I would say, is the MVP front runner. I don't care what anyone else says. This Miami team is rolling 70 points. They're 3-0. Tua had 300 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He only had 3 incompletions. Tua Tagovailoa, if the season ended right now, is holding up your MVP trophy.
I agree. And you talk about 3 incompletions. He threw his first incompletion in, I believe, the third quarter. I think he was 16 for 16 at halftime, I believe. But still, 23-26, you could do the math, but that is an extremely impressive percentage. 309 yards, 4-0 touchdown to interception ratio there. As we mentioned, A-Chain, however you say it, Raheem Mostert. I mean, they picked up the majority of this offense. Tyreek Hill scored a minute and a half into this game. We thought this was going to be another Tyreek Hill 200-yard performance, but they kind of shied away from him after that touchdown. Obviously, he was still getting targets, but not the same volume he was getting in that first half. And, yeah, Dolphins put up a historic 70 points on the Denver Broncos.
And honestly, they had 70 points with like 9 minutes left.
Yeah.
They could have gone for 100.
Yeah.
They could have, and they probably would have got it.
They could have gone for the record, 73.
I don't know about 100. That's 30 points.
Oh, they could get
30 points in 9 minutes with Mike White and Robbie Chosen as your QB wide receiver duo.
I mean, with Mike White in, probably not. But, I mean, if they had two in, I mean, they could.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have a question for both of y'all, though. Is Mike McDaniels the coach of the year frontrunner right now?
Oh, 100%.
100%?
I would say so, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say if the Miami Dolphins continue to have an offense that is this historical, I would believe that he is the coach of the year. I think Tua is the MVP. And I think Tyreek Hill would be the offense player of the year.
Okay, one more question. Do y'all think that Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa is the second best duo in the league?
Who's the first?
Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. Or
I'm taking Tua.
You're taking Kelce and Mahomes over Tua and Tyreek Hill?
Just the consistency between Kelce and Mahomes.
We talk about consistency. Tyreek Hill, he's probably been the most consistent wide receiver in the league so far.
Oh, I mean,
this season so far.
He's been the most consistent probably year in, year out. Tyreek Hill's a guy who's going to get you almost 100 and a touchdown a game. I mean, he could go for 2,000 this year if he really wanted to, and he might. This Dolphins team's rolling.
He said that in the offseason. I might go for 2,000, and
yeah,
he's definitely on pace.
He definitely is on pace.
Hey, as long as Tua doesn't get
if Tua can stay above ground and his head is not on the field, I think they'll be fine. I think the Dolphins are going to be a team that's going to be the first seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins are a team that could contend for a Super Bowl, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won it. Obviously, we had a long season, and we have a lot of hits Tua's going to take. Can he hold up? 3 games in, he has. Will he hold up all year? We don't know. That will
we'll see.
Be determined.
I think it's the tattoo sleeve.
He's channeling his inner tribal chief, you could say. Denver Broncos, 20 points. Russell Wilson, 306 yards, a touchdown, interception.
Not awful for a 50-point loss.
Awful, but I don't care. It's the Broncos' defense that lost him this game. A lot of people like to talk terrible on Russell Wilson, and yeah, he's not the same player he was, but he's not terrible. He was terrible
last year. This year so far, not as bad.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
Yeah.
God, man, that Broncos defense is horrible.
Broncos defense is terrible.
But moving along, Browns versus Titans, really a stinker. We're just going to fly through it. The Browns dominated really A to Z. I mean, Deshaun Watson, 2 touchdowns. He had a really weird play. He, ran the ball to the right and threw it backwards. That was wild.
Thanks to Elijah
Still
Moore.
won, 27-3, 289, 2 touchdowns.
Browns D looks elite against the Titans. I mean, that's not saying much because the Titans' offense isn't top tier, but holding the team to 3 points in the NFL, any team, it doesn't matter who it is, that's impressive.
Yeah, the Titans' offense is terrible. Ryan Tannehill, 3 for 25, 104, no touchdowns, no interceptions.
I mean, if your offense is led by a old, shot-out arm of Ryan Tannehill, then you already know the passing volume for the Titans' offense isn't going to be there. Then you look at what's next. You see superstar Derrick Henry in the backfield. You say, that's the guy we need to stop. And they did that. They stopped the Titans' X factor in Derrick Henry, and that's really what led the Browns to having such a dominant game. And they had things clicking on offense as well. Amari Cooper, a great game. Donovan Peoples-Jones, a great game. Elijah Moore played well. I mean, everything just clicked right for the Cleveland Browns. And I mean, I don't know. The Browns might come away with the AFC North this year if they keep playing like this.
They definitely can. I mean, the Bengals don't. I mean, only beating the Rams by 3 points. I mean, no, the Rams aren't a bad team by any means. But only beating the Rams by 3 points, that's your first win of the season. Joe Burrow doesn't look like himself. And
he's hurt.
I mean, yeah, I know. Exactly. That's why he's not looking like himself. And we'll see if their defense can keep on picking up the slack, because they did last night on Monday Night Football. I mean, not last night, on Monday Night Football. So we'll see if the Bengals defense can keep on contributing like they have. But if they can't, I can definitely see the Browns taking this, because I don't know about the Steelers. Steelers still a question. And then it's just between the Browns and Ravens, and we'll just see how each team does.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on that because obviously the Browns are a really talented team. They have a really good defense, good secondary. Obviously, Myles Garrett running that front seven. He's just sitting there doing dribble moves before he goes to text quarterback. It's crazy. Deshaun Watson can stay and play, and I don't think he's ever going to be the same player he was in Houston. He doesn't look the same. But if he can sit there and be consistently okay, they're going to have a good running game. It doesn't matter who's getting the ball back there. They have good receivers. I think the Browns legitimately, like you guys said, have a chance to win that division.
They definitely do.
Moving ahead now, the Bills versus the Commanders. I'm just going to fly through this.
Terrible
victory. 37-3. The Bills, they rolled. I mean, touchdown, interception for Allen. James Cook had a really good game as well, 98 yards. Going to the Commanders, we're going to spend a second on this. Sam Howell, 170 and 4 interceptions. God damn, put it down. Holy, that was bad. I mean, that is a rough performance. Whew.
And I don't know, Commanders.
Stinky.
I mean, obviously they came out hot. Obviously not the most impressive first 2 wins, but then you come out against the Bills. This is your real test to prove that you should be an undefeated team. Lose 37-3. Sam Howell looks awful against his first elite defense. Commanders fall to 2-1, and I just don't know what the rest of the season will look like for the Commanders. That this game could have completely destroyed Sam Howell's confidence.
Well, I don't think the Commanders are that good.
I don't
think
either.
Right.
No.
Yeah. I think they're probably the worst team in their division. The Giants are battling for that title. Do I think he's the future for quarterback for the Commanders? No. I don't. I think they're going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes whenever the season comes to an end. I do think their head coach as well is going to be canned as well in Ron Rivera. I think this will be his last season coaching NFL football. He's not that. I just don't think he's that good of a coach. I never have, and I definitely don't think his stuff works now.
No.
His stuff with cancer and how he beat that is phenomenal. Really boosted that team when they needed it then. But when it comes to being an NFL head coach today and tomorrow, I think this will be his last season in the NFL. Moving ahead, another 1 o'clock game that was exciting. Indianapolis Colts taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, these two teams have history because the Colts, left to come to Indianapolis from Baltimore. Two teams have battled to the 2010s, 2000s. Haven't really had too much history of late.
Nope.
Of course, obviously, a couple years ago, they played on Monday Night Football. Colts blew a big lead. Michael Pittman had a crazy catch. I mean, it was the Carson Wentz era. But This game was a solid game. Obviously, Anthony Richardson, Ryan Kelly did not play for the Colts. Richardson down with a concussion. Same with Kelly. Gardner Minshew steps in, leads the Colts to a victory, 22-19 in overtime. Matt Gay, obviously the hero of this game, scoring 15 points.
NFL record.
NFL record as well, 4 behind 50. The Colts looked well, though. Zach Moss, 122 yards carrying the rock. If Jonathan Taylor was in this game, I think he has over 200.
30 carries for Zach Moss.
30 carries.
That is prime Derrick Henry usage right there.
They let him. If Jonathan Taylor can come back, you can even that out, maybe like a 20-carry day for Taylor. 10 carries for Moss. Colts running game looks good.
I think the biggest thing about the Colts is their defense. Their defense looks like a top 10, top 5 defense. I mean, to get as many stops as you did on 4th down, to steal the game back from the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens were in prime position to score many times, many field goals.
Yeah.
And to hold Justin Tucker to kick a 61-yarder, which I don't know.
He how Justin, I
don't know how Justin Tucker
and
missed
they didn't
that.
want to kick another one either.
And they didn't want to kick another one. They were in prime position to kick another 62-yarder, and it was like, nope, we'd rather go for it because we don't believe in Justin Tucker right now. But that Colts defense, I mean, Zaire Franklin, leading this league in tackles.
Arguably the best back in the league right now.
Yeah, I would definitely sit on the island and say I think Zaire Franklin is top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year right now.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, Defensive Player of the Year.
In this game here, he had another phenomenal showing. He had 15 tackles, a sack as well. He's leading the league in tackles. He's getting a sack. Colts blitzed 40% of the time on defense. The Colts are getting there. Juju Brent's another player who was a healthy scratch first 2 weeks of the year. Comes in this game, starts at cornerback, forces a fumble. Plays really good. The Ravens really had no passing game in the second half. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, 101 yards
on the ground,
rushing the ball, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, kind of just blown coverages by the Colts. That's one thing the Colts defense does need to get better at, containing quarterbacks, but you can never really contain Lamar Jackson, let's be honest.
One player I do want to mention, on the Ravens defense, second-year safety Kyle Hamilton.
Yep, he had 3 sacks.
3 sacks on the day,
Yep.
2 tackles for loss, a pass breakup. I mean, he didn't look great his rookie year last year by any means. He definitely wasn't drafted. He definitely didn't play as a 14 overall pick. But this game, 7 tackles, 2 assists, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass defended. I mean, great. I'm not going to say he's going to play like this every week, but great performance. He was the rock for the Ravens defense this game.
I think this shows that he's not a coverage safety. He might be more of a blitzer safety, like a Jamal Adams. He might not be the best in coverage, but you send him off the edge, he can go and get you a couple sacks each game.
For sure.
The thing with Kyle Hamilton is he's mostly going to play like a sub-linebacker role. He's never going to be back getting the guys. He's never going to be back 20 yards.
He'll get an open interception if you need him to.
Well, of course. But he's 6'4". But he's going to be a guy who's probably going to be in the middle mostly in his career.
Yeah, like a Buda Baker.
A Buda Baker, you could say. Obviously, Jamal Adams, another great player as well, who kind of plays those roles. Isaiah Simmons, a guy who kind of was on the Cardinals. I think
Jaquan Brisker.
Yeah, another player. Some of these safeties that, even though they're listed as safeties, basically play backer roles.
For sure.
And that's what something Hamilton.
Hufanga.
Yeah.
The list goes on.
Let's go on.
But now moving along, just a game I'm just going to touch. Patriots versus Jets.
Oh, my gosh.
This game was bad. The Jets 1-2. This team is the same team that they were last year with Zach Wilson running
Especially
the team.
with Aaron Rodgers out.
Rodgers done for the year on the shelf. The Patriots get the win. Something interesting. Zeke Elliott, 16 carries, 80 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, 19 carries, 59 yards. So the Patriots get the win 15-10, picking up their first win of the season. The Jets fall to 1-2. Moving along now, Seahawks versus the Panthers. Obviously,
an offensive shootout.
Yeah, it was a pretty good shootout as well. Andy Dalton getting the start.
Taking care of the injured Bryce Young.
Yeah, Bryce Young didn't play with an ankle injury, so Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, came in, played well, 2 touchdowns, 361 passing. Really no running attack for the Carolina Panthers. Frank Reich starts his term
0-3
with the Panthers, 0-3. The Seahawks 2-1. Geno Smith didn't write back in this one either. 296, a touchdown interception. Kenneth Walker the 3rd, showing why he is the bell cow back in this backfield, having 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf doing DK Metcalf things. 112, 6 receptions as well.
I mean, the Panthers defense outside of Brian Burns just looks defeated. They don't look like they have.
Doesn't look good.
They don't have any type of juice other than Brian Burns getting that 1 sack. I know he got a sack on Geno Smith. I don't know how many exactly he got.
And it doesn't help with J.C. Horn being out as well. That's a
their
huge
whole
piece. That's probably the biggest piece for
their
that
whole
Panthers
secondary
defense.
is really banged up over there in Carolina. And Frank Reich, obviously, his offense consists of screen passes and running the ball.
Yeah.
And that offense in this modern age of the NFL is not working. There's a reason he's not the Indianapolis Colts head coach anymore, and there's a reason he's not going to be the Carolina Panthers head coach in 2 years because his offense is stale. And I love Frank Reich, but his offense in this modern age is not working. He just needs to air it out, man. Throw it downfield. But moving along now to a game that got a lot of popularity from the national
for some
media.
random reason.
Yeah, random reason. There was a certain lady in the press box. Maybe I don't know if you've heard about her, but Taylor Swift. I don't know. She might be dating Travis Kelce. Chiefs get a big win, 41-10 over the Chicago Bears. The Bears look terrible. They suck. Patrick Mahomes, just an average day at work, on your 9 to 5, 272, 3 touchdowns. Travis Kelce showing out for the girls, 69 receiving yards, his favorite number, 1 touchdown receiving, 7 receptions. Travis Kelce gets it moving and gets this thing rolling. The Bears fall to 0-3. Justin Fields couldn't even pass 100 yards passing.
Nope.
Get that man off the team. He is a running back. Yeah, Justin Fields, your career is about over, buddy. You better learn Chinese because it is done for you. Moving along now, Cardinals versus Cowboys. Josh Dobbs, Joshua
savior.
Dobbs, the guy that has a TikTok page. He's pretty fun. Obviously, Josh Dobbs was a backup for the Steelers for a while. Kind of bounced around as backups. Started a game last year on Thursday Night Football for the Titans. Almost beat the Cowboys. It was a good game.
This time he does beat the Cowboys.
He does beat the Cowboys, beating them 28-16. The Cardinals get their first win of the year. The Cowboys get their first loss of the year. James Conner really ran down the Cowboys, having 98 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. Josh Dobbs had 55 yards rushing as well, showing off the wheels.
7 yards per carry for James Conner, by the way.
7 yards per carry is crazy, by the way, against a really good, I would probably say the best front seven. Obviously, before this game, Diggs, their cornerback for the Cowboys, goes down with an ACL for the rest of the year.
Yep.
They traded for Stephon Gilmore in the offseason. They still have a good cornerback room. But I think them losing Diggs sent a shockwave through the Cowboys locker room, causing them to come out and play poor. We'll see what they do next week. Moving along, Sunday Night Football, Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. This game was definitely an interesting one.
One of the worst coaching performances I have ever seen from the Raiders.
It was bad. Jimmy G, 324, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think the Raiders are going to be a team in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if Jacobs, Adams, and Jacoby Myers both find new homes. Hunter Renfrow, I do expect to be on a new team by next season. For the Steelers, they're 2-1. A team that is not good, has no business being 2-1 because I don't think the Steelers are that good at all. I don't think they're good at all. I think they're a bottom 10 team in the league. And this team will still mess around and win 9 games. It's just crazy. Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches we've ever seen. And, hey,
he can take a high school football team and have a winning record in the NFL.
It's crazy.
I mean, Najee Harris, it's bad. It's getting bad.
Man, that guy has like 70 speed. It's just he is not fast. He had a really good rookie year, and ever since then it's been going downhill.
Terrible.
He kind of reminds me of Zeke Elliott now. Like Najee Harris and Zeke Elliott kind of look like the same player.
I mean, this game he had 19 carries.
You look at the stats, but they're just blank
yards.
stats. 65 yards, you're like, oh, that's not that bad. But if you watch the game, Najee Harris.
19 carries?
19 carries. He's only averaged 3.4.
Jalen Warren had more yards per carry than Najee Harris with eight carries for 29 yards.
It's definitely something. It's definitely.
I think it won't be long until Jalen Warren takes over that RB1 spot.
Really?
He looks more explosive. He might be a better vision running back than Najee Harris.
Najee's just like a smaller Derrick Henry. That's
Najee's
all he
more
is.
of a bruiser. He doesn't really do cuts.
Najee Harris reminds me of Trent Richardson.
That clip of him against the Browns where he broke a tackle in the backfield, runs around this. I mean, it looks like he was running in slow motion. Like he's just slow.
Yeah.
The thing with the Steelers offense, I mean, they beat the Raiders. Woohoo! What a big deal. But they still have to figure out this offense. Najee Harris isn't there. Jalen Warren just isn't an RB1 in general. Kenny Pickett hasn't looked amazing. Pat Freiermuth's not getting open. George Pickens is, mid. Deontay Johnson, I guess, is still out with that hamstring injury. He's on IR. He's going to come back week 5. That Deontay Johnson is the target that Pickett tends to find more, as we saw that last season. But still, Deontay Johnson's not going to take this team from bottom 10 to a playoff contender. And the only bright spot on the defense is really TJ Watt. That's really the only bright spot on the defense that I could point out.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. Moving along Monday night, the Eagles taking on the Buccaneers. The Eagles moved to 3-0. Buccaneers dropped 2-1, get their first loss of the season. 25-11 is the final score.
I think this is the real test for the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I mean, they get 2 wins.
I think they're a solid team.
I mean, the score doesn't represent how far away these two teams were from each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 14 points doesn't even tell the tale of how bad the Eagles were beating the Bucs.
But yeah, that's true. But I mean, okay, Buccaneers are 2-1. Those 2 wins came against the Chicago Bears, who are 0-3, and the Minnesota Vikings, who are 0-3. They have the Eagles at home. Eagles, in my opinion, probably the best roster from A to Z on paper. They have them at home crowd, prime time, and the Eagles whoop you guys. I really just don't know if the Buccaneers are going to continue to play with this high level. Baker Mayfield didn't look terrible, but didn't look great. Baker, 15 for 25, 146 yards, a touchdown and an interception. 146 yards, not great for a quarterback. That is 146 passing yards isn't impressive.
Not at all.
Rashad White did not look good. Less than 3 yards per carry for him.
But that front seven for the Eagles is I don't know if any running back is getting over 100 yards on that front seven.
Yeah, nobody.
Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith,
Nobody.
and then
Is Jacoby Dean there too?
Yeah.
Jacoby Dean. Yeah.
I mean, that front seven it's almost impenetrable.
It's bad.
It's bad. So unless you can get some air attack going, which they have a great secondary too, so that's hard as well. You really can't get yards on them unless you can somehow maybe run outside or throw across the middle. It's really hard to score on this Eagles defense.
Yeah, and as you said, Eagles secondary is very good, and the rock of this Buccaneers offense is their wide receiver core.
Yeah.
And if you shut that down, that means you're going to have to put the ball in the hands of unproven second-year running back Rachaad White. And obviously that did not pan out well, only averaging 2.7 yards per carry. Buccaneers fall to 2-1, get their first loss of the year. I will still keep an eye on them, though, to just see if this was a fluke. Eagles continue their undefeated streak at 3-0.
I still think that the Bucs, like especially with Derek Carr being out for however long, they can still win this division easily, depending on how long Derek Carr can stay out.
Falcons,
Panthers.
Yeah, that's a terrible division.
And the Saints don't look astronomically good. They look decent.
Yeah, I definitely think the Buccaneers have a shot in that division.
It's definitely just between the Bucs and the Saints at this point.
The Falcons,
We'll see.
obviously in that division too, they can mess around and win it. So that division is definitely probably the worst in football, but it's wide open, just like another division, AFC South. But moving along, final game of Week 3. We'll just get through it. The Cincinnati Bengals, they get a victory, 19-16 versus the Rams. A snooze fest. Joe Burrow, 259, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Joe Mixon, basically the game-winning touchdown in the third quarter. He had 65 yards rushing as well. Jamar Chase finally had at least a big game, 141. 12 receptions. So
Bengals defense came to play though.
Yeah, the Bengals defense looked good. Logan Wilson, their big linebacker.
Trey Hendrickson,
he played well.
Trey Hendrickson got like at least 2 sacks.
Yeah, so I would say pretty solid overall.
Yeah, but then again, the Rams were dealing with a lot of injuries on their front line.
Yeah.
So I'll take that with a grain of salt.
And I mean, Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua, if they're your RB1 and wide receiver 1. Obviously, Puka Nacua showed what he's capable of in the first 2 weeks of the season, but, I mean, Bengals defense is good, and this is really the first good defense he went up against.
And you can really tell, if you watch the game, you can really tell how much attention Puka Nacua was getting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was getting bumped on every route that he was going on. Somehow, Sean McVay got him open still because it's Sean McVay, and he can scheme guys open. But Puka Nacua was getting tapped every time he was off the line. So we'll see if that continues going forward.
Yeah, but moving on now to the second segment of the show, we're going to go and just talk about some big topics going around the league.
Yep.
What is going on with the Dallas Cowboys? Losing to the Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys sit in a situation where they should be 3-0 right now. Let's be honest. Dak Prescott, he has a 67 completion percentage, 647 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns and an interception. That's okay, but you lose to an Arizona Cardinals team that should not have put 28 points up on you. What is going on with the Dallas Cowboys?
Not only a team that shouldn't have put 28 points on you, but also a team that shouldn't have only kept you to 16 points.
No, that Cardinals defense is not that good.
It is not. You look at the pieces. Who's their best player on their defense?
Who?
Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
That's a good question. I mean, I couldn't probably name 5 players.
After Isaiah Simmons left and J.J. Watt retired, I mean, it's really
nobody.
It's really not a lot of good pieces on that defense.
And they hold Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard.
Well, Tony Pollard had a good game. Tony Pollard had like 122.
Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, did I already say him? Michael Gallup. All those players are better than any matchup that the Cardinals would have to offer.
Yeah.
And they held them to 16 points. And I think, there wasn't really one part of the game that sucked for the Cowboys. Like, it wasn't just the defense. It wasn't just the offense. It was both sides of the ball.
It was both sides, yeah.
If you're letting Joshua Dobbs put up 28 and letting probably the worst defense in the NFL hold you to 16 with some superstars on that offense, something's got to be going on.
I think they'll come back next week, re-energize. Maybe they thought this was going to be a week off. You know,
you go down. Obviously,
you're versing the worst team in the league.
You're going against the worst team in the league, and your top corner goes down. You're already feeling Like, dang it.
Yeah.
That's our top corner. I mean, that's our defense right there. And you go down to Arizona, and you think this team sucks.
This team sucks.
And you mess around, and they call it in the league. They call this a trap game.
Yeah.
Usually, you don't see it this early in the season, but it's a trap game. And the Cowboys, oh my, I still think this is a really talented team, but if they don't get rolling now, they play New England next week, then San Fran. So those are two teams that, even though New England's not that good, the New England Patriots and San Fran.
Bill Belichick's still there.
Then you got the Chargers as well. So they have three solid teams coming up. If they lose to the New England Patriots, 2-2, you got to go play San Fran.
You got to go play. Is it at San Fran?
Oh yes,
it's at San Fran. Ooh.
I don't know.
It's at Levi Stadium. That's definitely
going into Levi Stadium against the best defense
Especially
in the NFL.
If you just lost 2 games in a row, that wouldn't be a good
2-game losing streak. You're 500 on the year. Go to San Fran and play the best defense in the NFL. Not the most explosive. Dolphins are the most explosive, but probably top 5 most explosive offenses in the NFL with Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo. Like, I just don't see them pulling out a win there. But yeah, it is going to be a tough few weeks for the Cowboys.
We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah, moving along, the Indianapolis Colts are 2-1. They're a few plays away from being 3-0. The Colts are a team that nobody expected to be 2-1 at this point in the season. The Indianapolis Colts, are they for real?
I think they can be, like, especially with how bad the division is, and the way Anthony Richardson has progressed each of his first 2 games. I know he's gotten hurt in both of them, but the progression that he's made and how good Shane Steichen is as a play caller, this is a team that should be feared coming into your stadium or going to their stadium. I mean, the defense has been playing well as well, has been playing good as well.
Yeah.
The defense has been playing phenomenal.
Top 5
Zaire
defense
Franklin, 45 tackles. Julian Blackman, who kind of struggled last year.
And the one thing is, the front 4 is getting back there every time. I mean, Kwity Paye, Samson Ebukam, DeForest Buckner, and Grover Stewart are all getting back there. I mean, we have to have one of the best run defenses and pass rush defenses in the league just from the front 4.
Yeah.
So I think that they are for real, and we'll continue to see that through the coming weeks.
I mean, they just beat the 2-0 Ravens at Baltimore.
And the Ravens they're no stress. Like, they're not a bad team. Baltimore
not
Ravens
at
are
all. No,
a
not even
playoff
close.
team.
Playoff team.
They beat Baltimore at Baltimore without their rookie starting quarterback that is supposed to lead this team.
And who I would say is better than Gardner Minshew.
Yeah. And they win. Now, take it with a grain of salt. If Justin Tucker does hit that kick, they lose the game.
Yeah, obviously it's over, but Justin Tucker,
But he missed.
just happened not to have the leg that day.
Matt Gay was the better kicker in that game. Never thought I would say that, especially against a kicker like Justin Tucker.
Greatest kicker of all time.
I mean, hey, Justin Tucker couldn't get it done. And the most impressive part you mentioned about that defense, it might be time, maybe not, maybe a week or two, to call this Colts defense elite, holding a newly paid Lamar Jackson, added OBJ, added Zay Flowers. Now, J.K. Dobbins is out, but still, holding that offense to 19 points at home, impressive. And I don't know if they're for real. We still need to see how Richardson pans out. I really, all I have to say is give it time. And this is a team that's definitely slept on. And, all these reports, early mock drafts saying they're going to snag Marvin Harrison at 3.
Colts
At this point,
I don't think we'll have a top 10 pick at this point.
At this point, I don't even know if they're going to be top 5 picks.
If the Colts continue this trajectory that they're heading towards, I think the Colts are going to win the AFC
Especially with the schedule coming up. I mean, it's not the best schedule in the world.
It's pretty open.
It's pretty open. It's a pretty open schedule, and especially with the AFC South being that open.
And Shaq Leonard, obviously, he hasn't really came into his own. He has 19 tackles, but he's only really playing 50% of the game. He's splitting reps with EJ Speed. Yeah. So I think the Colts, they're definitely playing better than people thought.
Yeah.
Moving on now to the Bears. Is the Justin Fields era in Chicago coming to an end?
I would say it might be. As much as I hate to say it, I love Justin Fields coming out of Ohio State. I always really thought he was better than Trevor Lawrence just because.
What?
Okay,
Justin Fields better than Trevor Lawrence.
No, not
Let's
today.
roll it.
Not
back.
today. Not today.
So coming into the draft, he thought Justin Fields was better than Trevor Lawrence.
Oh yeah, I thought he should have been picked first overall.
Oh wow,
That's just crazy. This
Oh,
is a
wow.
Bears fan, by the way.
I don't.
This
No,
Bears
but
bias coming through.
this is before me even. I thought we were gonna snag Christian Darrisaw in that draft. That's when we had the 20th overall pick. I really liked Justin Fields, and obviously Trevor Lawrence is a better pocket passer, but the dual threat ability of Justin Fields always had me.
All right, so let's.
But I'm not gonna sit here and say Justin Fields was, oh my gosh, this miles better than player than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
They were a 1A 1B for me, so I don't know.
Yeah, not for the rest of the country, but
Yeah.
But I mean, Justin Fields is a guy who, I mean, he was 7th in MVP betting this year. People thought this guy would take the next step, and he hasn't.
especially with the additions of DJ
I would
Moore.
say he's not
DJ
even
Moore.
a top 32 quarterback in the league. I would take multiple guys over James.
Yeah, and especially how he's looked so far.
Justin Fields.
He said it was the coaching, and then took it.
Oh, come on. It's not the coaching. Maybe he just sucks.
I
Let's
mean,
just
it
be
might
honest.
be it might be the coaching.
Justin
knows?
Fields.
Who knows what's going on in Chicago?
Well, no,
They got $100,000 of gear stolen. Their defensive coordinator's house got raided.
He likes kids. Let's just be honest here. The Bears, they're about to catch on
terrible.
fire.
They're terrible.
Okay,
And
they go out. They have an offensive minded coach. They fire Matt Nagy. They go out and say, our offense sucks. What should we do? They go out and get the cover playing Indianapolis Colts
Defensive-minded,
defensive coordinator. Let's just be honest. The Bears, it's time to clean your house. You got to fire your coach. You got to fire your GM, even though he was just hired a few years ago.
No, the GM's not
No,
that
the
bad.
GM's
I think the
pretty fine.
GM.
is he? Yeah, is he that good though?
I
I
mean,
mean, the
think he's
GM.
solid,
Okay,
yeah.
hold on. The GM of the Bears flipped the first overall pick for DJ Moore, multiple picks, and the Panthers' first pick next year. Right now, the Bears are on track to have the first and second overall pick of the 2024 NFL draft, just because we have the Panthers' first round pick.
I would say that's a good.
That is a great deal.
I think that the Bears have the right GM for the job.
It's the coaching. I think it's the coaching.
I think he has to clean house in the coaching area
And in the quarterback room.
and in the quarterback room.
You got to draft a quarterback
Okay,
this
no,
year.
I agree. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say that we should have traded Justin Fields this year and drafted Bryce Young. We know how Bryce Young is going to turn out. He's small. He processes the field. He makes bad decisions. He's a bad decision maker. Obviously, we should have kept Fields. He almost just broke the single game rushing record as a QB. You add DJ Moore. Obviously, we're going to keep Justin Fields to see how he pairs and see how it goes. It's not turning out well. This is his last year on his rookie deal. As of right now, you should not extend that. You should let him go into free agency, test free agency. Do you guys think he will, if he signs for another team, will he be a starter or a backup?
Yeah, a team will give him a chance.
Okay.
No team is giving him
You don't
a
think
chance.
a team will give him a chance?
Really?
No.
There will be a team that gives him a chance. That
He just
a
rushed
team,
for 1,100 yards as a quarterback.
Okay, what? Whoop-de-doo. How many wins did he get?
There will
3.
There will be a team that doesn't fall into that top 10 pick range. Can't draft Shadir Sanders, Caleb Williams, Drake May. And it's just like, okay.
And I guarantee you Justin Fields will ball out for whatever team that is. It is.
I don't know about that one. But
I think it's the coaching. I do think it's the coaching.
All right, let's play a fun game of who would you rather have?
This or that. All right.
This or that. Would you rather have Justin Fields or Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins.
Would you rather have Justin Fields or Gardner Minshew? Not forever, not for the career, for this season.
For this season, I would take Fields. It's Gardner Minshew.
I don't know.
I'm taking Gardner Minshew.
I might
Would
take
you
Fields.
rather have Justin Fields or Derek Carr?
Derek
Derek
Carr.
Carr.
Derek Carr.
I'd say Derek Carr. Would you rather have Justin Fields or Jameis Winston?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
I would take Jameis
Oh,
Winston.
my God.
What?
I think Justin Fields
Jameis
is
Winston
terrible.
just choked a 17-0 lead.
Yeah, but
Didn't
Jameis
even
Winston,
touch the other side of the field whenever he played.
No one's ever gone 30 for 30. Do you get that? Do you understand? 30 for 30?
Did just
30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions.
yeah, okay.
So every touchdown.
Yeah,
is
that's
tossed
not
to one of the
impressive.
halves. Yeah, but it's way more
Every elite
touchdowns than
quarterback-
Justin Fields will
every-
ever throw.
Okay, that's true. I don't know. I think we just need to wait and see how Justin Fields plays. Coach Eberflus said in a press conference that they are apparently close to figuring things out.
That's a
I
Frank Wright
don't
quote.
buy it.
That's a Frank White quote.
Yep,
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
buy
Frank
it.
Wright. We're going to climb
And-
that mountain. How tall is that mountain, Frank?
I think after this season, if Justin Fields doesn't explode into this crazy talent that you drafted him to be, I think you let him go and, potentially, if we are there, draft Caleb Williams.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you this. For this season, who would you rather have, Justin Fields or Anthony Richardson?
Yeah,
Anthony Richardson.
Justin Fields or C.J. Stroud?
CJ Stroud.
Justin Fields or Russell Wilson?
Russell
I'm
Wilson.
taking Russell
Just
Wilson.
because the experience.
Justin Fields or Matthew Stafford?
I'm taking Stafford.
Stafford just won a Super Bowl. Last time he was healthy, he just won a Super Bowl. a couple
Justin
years ago.
Fields or Trey Lance?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
That's
Yeah,
a
I'd
dumb
take Justin
That's
Fields.
a dumb
Trey Lance
question.
is not that good. Justin Fields or Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold.
Justin Fields.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's not that bad.
I think if Sam Darnold was playing right now for the Niners,
I
he
think
would
if
be
Sam
that.
Darnold was back in the Jets right now, they'd be winning games.
No.
What?
No.
Not just offenses.
I would rather have. Actually, no. I'm not. I was not.
Justin
to
Fields
say that.
or Zach Wilson?
Justin
Fields.
Fields.
I
Justin
think-
Fields has been the better prospect. Justin Fields has been better than Zach Wilson his whole career. Zach Wilson, whoop-de-doo, Zach Wilson made one good throw in pro day with no pads on indoors, 60-yard bomb, and now he's the second
It
overall.
was a pretty impressive throw, though.
It was impressive,
It
but
was pretty impressive.
no offensive line, no pressure, no helmet, no pads.
It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I
Indoors.
would probably pick Fields as well. Moving on. If the Vikings continue to lose, they're now 3-0-3. Do they become sellers?
I think they should become sellers right now, actually.
I don't know, because you have Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is a talent that you just can't pass on. Like, obviously, if they continue to lose, let's say they're at a point where the season where they're 3-6, 3-7.
Well, that'd be
their
past
play-
the trade deadline, so
that-
you can't sell.
No, that's what I'm saying though. But that is past the point of contention. They're not going to make the playoffs at that point.
But if you're the Vikings and you want to be sellers,
They're
who
not
do
gonna
you sell?
Yeah, I sell Kirk Cousins right. I sell Kirk Cousins as soon as I can.
Well, his contract's over after this year. So.
Exactly, but
So he's
But
not
if you're-
returning.
but if
He
you're-
is not
but-
returning.
But if you're what team would even want Kirk
Jets.
Cousins? The Jets?
The Jets would pick him up. Well, no, because Aaron Rodgers will be back next year
well, no, but his contract's up this year. This will be just a one year thing.
for Rodgers,
No, for Kirk Cousins.
for Kirk.
This would just be like a 1 year prove it type of thing.
I definitely see if the Vikings continue to lose, let's say they're 2-5 going into week 8 trade deadline. I definitely see them possibly looking to trade Kirk Cousins, trading Harrison Smith,
Daniel Hunter.
Hunter, like you said. I definitely see that being a possibility. Ultimately, we're going to have to see, but I think only time will tell.
Oh, the division's still weak, so you still have time. To,
Lions aren't looking crazy. Packers just won just because Derek Carr got hurt. Bears are Bears. Yeah.
So the division's still kind of wide open. If you can turn it around, win 3 straight, 3-3, you'll probably be tied or second place in that division. So we'll see.
And then finally, for this middle segment here, is the Dolphins. Not the Dolphins. That makes no sense. Well, I mean, that's what it is. Is the Dolphins offense unstoppable?
At this point, yes.
It might be.
Because Jalen Waddle didn't even play this week,
I know.
and they dropped 7.
But then again, are we?
70 points.
Is this because is that performance solely because the Dolphins' offense is unstoppable, or is it because the Broncos' defense is that bad?
I think this Dolphin. If you have an offense with probably the two fastest receivers in the league, in Waddle and Hill.
But why do they even play?
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so you're talking solely about the
Solely about
Broncos.
this game. Is,
Okay.
is the reason they scored 70 because their offense is that good, or is it because the Broncos' defense is that bad?
I mean, if you have,
I think their offense is that good.
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, they showed it. They've showed it the past 2 weeks. It's not like they started 0-2 and then they just randomly dropped 70. The Dolphins are 3-0 for a reason. Their defense isn't amazing. So a leading point of them being 3-0 has to be their offense. It is probably the number one offense in the NFL easily. And I would go to say that they're the best team in the NFL right now.
I would agree. But finally, before we end this first ever episode of the Roll the Tape Sports Podcast, a little bit of fantasy for
sir.
you. So all three of us are going to have a start and a sit for your fantasy teams. And first, I'm going to go first. And I'm going to say start the Colts defense. The Colts defense is available on 56% of leagues. And the Colts are taking on a Rams team. That offensive line looked like Swiss cheese versus the Bengals. The Colts have a really good front seven. I think the Colts get after it versus the Rams. I would say start the Colts defense. And I would say bench Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson, obviously the bell cow, back for the Patriots. Maybe Zeke Elliott, 16 carries. They're taking on the Cowboys, a team that has the second best run defense in the league statistically. So Stevenson, who kind of struggled last week versus the Jets, probably won't have too big of a day versus the Cowboys.
My fantasy starts and sits. My start player is Amari Cooper. Just put up 25 fantasy points on the Tennessee Titans defense. This Titans defense is the first defense that the Browns have played that it's been, they're bad. This is the first defense that Amari Cooper has had a good matchup in. He dropped 16 points last week on Pittsburgh, who has a good secondary. Cincinnati, he only dropped 7 points, but Cincinnati has a good secondary. First game, he has a easy secondary to go against. He drops 25. Baltimore secondary, not too amazing. They have Marlon Humphrey, and maybe that's it, and Kyle Hamilton. But as we said earlier, Kyle Hamilton is kind of like a linebacker 3 in the type of defense that they play. So start Amari Cooper. My sit for this week is going to be his teammate in the backfield, Jerome Ford. Yes, he just dropped 19 fantasy points. Yes, he is stepping into an RB1 role to fill in the shoes of an injured Nick Chubb. Will he be good against a good Baltimore Ravens front seven? I don't know. I think we give him a couple more weeks to show what he's about. The reason I have Amari Cooper exploding is because the Baltimore secondary isn't good, but the Ravens front seven is good. Therefore, I am going to have Jerome Ford in my sit list.
And for my start and sit of the week, I got to have Michael Pittman. 11 targets first week, 12 targets second week, and 11 targets third week. Those are consistent targets. He gets targeted every game. The game plan revolves around Michael Pittman. He will get you 13 to 15 points each week consistently. 97 yards first game, 56 second game is kind of shaky, but 77 last game. He versus the Rams defense, which isn't the best defense. They aren't the defense like they were a couple years ago, but I still think that he'll get his 10 to 12 targets a game in this game. For my sit, I have Drake London. Now, Drake London has been inconsistent this whole year. 0 points first week, 18 second week, which is pretty good, but 5 points last week against the Detroit Lions, who doesn't have the best they have a good secondary, but they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, so it's not the best secondary. And he versus the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, who have a really good front seven. So they'll be getting after Desmond Ridder the whole game. So that's why I have Drake London as my sit of the week.
And you say Drake London's been inconsistent this season. He's been inconsistent ever since he got shipped to Atlanta.
That's fair.
So that is definitely a good sit in my opinion.
Yeah, that's basically going to wrap it up. Of course, the first ever episode of the Roll the Tape podcast. Make sure to follow us on all social media. Roll the Tape Pods. All one big long sentence. And on YouTube, Roll the Tape Podcast. Every week, 4 o'clock, Thursday, an episode will be dropping. So be on the lookout next Thursday for the second episode of the week. It's been fun talking to you. Of course, next episode will probably be a little better. We'll always look to improve, Yep. But for everyone else here in the booth, thanks for joining us. And this has been a fun time on Roll the Tape.
Yes, sir.